couldn't get in, until you was 18.
So
Without their signing your papers.
So you could get in before then if they signed.
You could get in at 17, I know, because
Oh.
I went in at 17.
Oh,
Of course,
okay.
I was just about a month away from being 18.
Uh-huh.
Because I went in, I was sworn in
Are you recording?
Mm-hmm.
the 23rd of March, 1944.
Mm-hmm.
And then my birthday was April the 19th, 1944. And so they knew that I was going to have to go shortly because they were drafting people, right and left then for the war.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided, well, he's going to have to go anyway. So we'll let him get into whatever he wants, And
Yeah.
of course, I thought the Navy needed me, I just knew they couldn't operate without me. And so they did. They signed them. Well, they had a recruiting officer from El Dorado, about 50 miles from here. He would come in here in Fordyce on certain days a week. So I met that bird up there, And I told him, boy, my mother and dad's going to sign my papers. I'm going to sign it. So he set us up where we could meet with him, And well, I think he gave us the papers. Gave me the papers, and we had to take them before an old Republic and what have you, and sign, fill them out, sign everything. Well, we got everything fixed up, but some way there was either we wrote where it should have been typed, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Something that he and I could handle, without my parents.
Oh.
So he must have wrote me because we didn't have a telephone.
Mm-hmm.
But he let me know that I needed to come to El Dorado, and he said, you won't need your parents. You can come here, and we'll correct this, whatever it was in the papers that were filled out. So we had a little old passenger mail train come through here. Then we had a Rock Island Railroad that went from here to El Dorado.
Mm-hmm.
And so that thing had come through here around 11 o'clock in the daytime. And so I left home on the 22nd of March, and I told my parents, I said, well, I'll be back tonight, because then, and of course I think this was for married men,
Uh-huh.
they would give you about 2 weeks to get your business in order, before they'd take you.
Oh.
Well, of course I wasn't married, so I went to El Dorado with the intention of getting to come back for 2 weeks, and be at home for 2 weeks. And so I went down, and we fixed the papers up, corrected the mistake, whatever it was. I don't recall just now what it was, but anyway, it was something that I could do, without my parents' consent. And so we did that, and he asked me if I was colorblind. I said, no, I'm not colorblind. How do you know you're not? I said, well, I don't think I am. So then he gives me, you've seen these large books with, you open them up and they've got a multicolored, and if you're colorblind, you wouldn't be able to see the number or the letter or the sign. So he went through it with me, and I was able to identify it. He said, well, I guess you're right, you're not colorblind. I said, I didn't think. But anyway, he gave me a ticket, put me on a Trailways bus in El Dorado, gave me a ticket to Little Rock, and gave me a meal ticket so I could go to a restaurant the next morning and eat breakfast, and then told me where to report up there for my physical. And he told me when you get to Little Rock, go to the YMCA and they'll let you stay all night there. So I did. I went up there. Didn't get up there till about, it must have been 11 o'clock at night. And so I did go to the restaurant the next morning to eat, and I went over then to this old big building, looked like a big old warehouse building, and they had places where you go through and they would examine you, you know, and see if you was alive. That's about if you could feel different things. Well, they felt like you would make a good sailor or soldier or something. So I went through that physical that morning, and that afternoon they let us go eat. And that afternoon they had us to meet in this other building, and we were sworn in. And they swore us in. And so they told us this was way over in the evening, 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening. And they told us, you know, this train, told us where the train was. Y'all be on it, I believe, by 9 o'clock that night, because it's going to be leaving. You got to be on that train by that time. And of course, it was a whole slew of guys that was going to be on it. You know,
I bet you're excited.
More or less a troop train. Well, I began to get kind of leery because I wondered, what in the world have I done? So I was really, I couldn't do anything. I didn't have any money, you know, to go out on the town or anything.
Yeah.
So I just went down, got on the train, and went to bed, you know. Of course, it just had old bumps, you know. It was a troop train.
Oh.
Just crawled on that thing, and I went to bed. Woke up the next morning in Oklahoma City. And I thought, man, what in the world? I really began to wonder then what I had done. What am I up to here, man? Way out here, and I've never been any farther away from home than Little Rock. And that's just 60, 70 miles.
Yeah, so that's a big trip then.
Oh, man, yeah. But anyway, we went on to San Diego. That's where I took my boot training.
So they fly you out from Oklahoma City?
No. We rode the train all the way to.
Okay. Long train ride.
When we got into San Diego, of course, they had vehicles there to escort us on or take us on, transport us on out to the base, you know, out to the training center. And then I went through boot training there in San Diego. And, well, it was the 23rd day of March when I was sworn in. And then the 3rd day of May was when I was on a ship leaving out for overseas. So you can tell I didn't have too much training, not a whole lot of training. They just kept me in there long enough to brainwash you and let you know you was in the Navy. You know? And so, anyway, with the day they carried us, they woke us up early one morning, and we all went over to the mess hall for breakfast. It was, I would say it was 4 or 5 o'clock, no later than 5, and they fed us our breakfast, gave us a little old box lunch, and we went to San Pedro, and I don't know where San Pedro is from San Diego, but we rode a train there, and we got to San Pedro. Well, we went into another big building there. They had bunks and they had a mess hall. Well, we spent the night there, and